What Crossings does for people who are not preachers is that it allows them to hear a good sermon, even if one might not be preached.
All of my imperfections, being smart for generosity.
It's become such a way of life for me.
Crossings is not a sect of Christianity. Crossings is a tool that we use to understand Christianity.
A way of understanding life. It's a lens.
It really is good, and it is something new.
My one word to describe Crossings is really 4 words. It's joy in the promise that God makes to us in Jesus Christ. Crossings has been a great gift in my life, particularly before I was retired in preaching. What Crossings gave me was a way to read the biblical text and to cross that into the lives of people who were my parishioners and that I heard from week after week. And it gave me a way of proclaiming the promise to them in a way that related to what they were experiencing in their everyday lives. It allows people to do their own analysis of a text and to focus on the promise that is in that text and to make their own applications. Where does that finally get you? That's a question that people are often hesitant or maybe even fearful to ask because they're not sure they have an answer for where they think it may finally get them. And what Crossings does is take their questions seriously. It takes their concerns seriously. And then it takes the message of the Scriptures, the promise that God makes to us in Christ seriously, and crosses those two so that it speaks to the very problem that is gnawing at them and can give them hope and joy. I think the power of Crossings is evident in the fact that it has appealed to people of so many different cultures and even a number of different religious traditions. It's focus on the core of the Christian message that draws people. And there is a sense of joy that comes from that. It's a realization that even though one may have been very well educated in the Bible and know the content of the Bible and have grown up in the church and know the message of the church, until I had this aha that Crossings brought, I missed out sometimes on the joy. God speaks to us with 2 words. One is a word of law. It's a word of accountability. It's a word of requirement. It's the word that we all understand, even if we're not religious, that we are expected to be honest people, we're expected to be caring people, people who promote justice and peace, and that's a word from God. But it's also a requirement. And the problem is that we don't always live up to it. In fact, the better we get at living up to it, the more we realize that we're not all that good. At least we don't love our neighbor all the time, with all our might and with all our strength all the time. It is the word of promise that God speaks to us in Jesus. That's called the gospel, the good news, and that is that on account of Jesus, we can have hope that the promise that Jesus makes to us of the forgiveness of sins is a promise we can trust. That's the joy of this good news. If Crossings were not around, it would have an impact on my life, and it wouldn't be a pleasant one. I look forward to the weekly text studies. I still value those text studies, those analyses of the text that always push us to ask the question, how is Christ necessary? And how is his death and resurrection such good news? And to make use of that. And I would miss the annual conferences that bring together people from around the country and even from other continents of the world who likewise have found joy in this community and method. I would miss meeting those people, recognizing that there are brothers and sisters around the world who share this same hope in the promise. My hope for Crossings is that it will be able to somehow cut through all the other chatter, because when the word gets out there, I've seen the Spirit work with that and make a difference for people.